Let's get started with our first news. Jean Silva wants to fight Alexander Volkanovski next. Aljamain Sterling listed potential matchups in the featherweight division after UFC 314, and Jean Silva responded. Aljo posted this clip and said he'd like to fight Diego Lopes next. He said, "My top 3 opponents that I would like to fight on my way to eventually fight for a world title. I would like to see Volkanovski versus Movsar. I think that matchup makes sense. I would love the opportunity for me to fight Diego Lopes next. And then I think maybe Pitbull, maybe he welcomes Aaron Pico to the UFC. I think it's an opportunity for both these guys to show if they belong, or I mean, you can mix them up with somebody else. There's Lerner Murphy, another undefeated prospect at the weight class. Yar is coming off a win over Pitbull. I can see Yar versus Lerner Murphy, or Yar versus Diego Lopes." Then he added, "You have Brian Ortega, who's probably not looking to return anytime soon. Hopefully by the summer, just to keep the division moving. So those are the matchups that interest me. I would either like to fight Diego Lopes or Brian Ortega. I think those are the most logical fights. Or maybe even Arnold Allen." Jean Silva responded to that clip saying, "You versus Ortega, me versus Volkanovski. The Voya fired. This is the right narrative." Silva also posted this to his Instagram, making the case for why he should fight Volk next. He wrote, "I don't think anyone is going to give me anything. If it's not a title shot, then it better be a fight that puts me right there. But let's look at the facts." Volk said he wants to stay active and face the best in the division. "I've already proven that I deserve it and that I'm the best." He continued, "Diego Lopes got a title shot with 5 wins and 1 loss, with 2 of those wins by decision, while I have 5 wins, all by finish. This is the fight that makes sense. I deserve it and I'm ready. I faced the biggest knockout artist at lightweight and knocked him out. I took on one of the best grapplers in the division and submitted him. I beat a guy who has never been knocked out and I knocked him out. And I also faced a multi-time world kickboxing champion and knocked him out too. If I don't deserve a title shot, I don't know who does. I trust the UFC, Dana White, Hunter, and Sean Shelby. I'm ready for whatever they decide." Dustin Poirier was impressed with Silva. Now moving on to another big story. Kamaru Usman praises Alexander Volkanovski, but Henry Cejudo sees a hole in his game that could cost him against certain explosive strikers in the division after UFC 314, where Volkanovski put on a masterclass performance. Former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman was full of admiration. Usman couldn't stop praising Volk's ability to move, adjust, and execute a game plan at the highest level. According to Usman, Volk's footwork, his shot selection, and especially his jab were the keys to victory and some of the most impressive aspects of his entire showing. Usman said, "This guy moved for 25 minutes. You realize that, Henry? That's what I found fascinating. Bro, this guy didn't stop moving. Side to side, side to side. This angle, that angle, every second. 25 minutes straight. He knew he couldn't just stand in front of this young bull and brawl. And when he did stand and trade, he got caught a couple times just to let him know, I ain't scared." But those were the moments when he stumbled. That's how dangerous it was to stay still. Then Usman added, "But when he was moving, bro, that jab was money. Seriously, I was so impressed by the way he stayed laser focused for the entire fight. That's elite level fighting IQ. Not a second wasted, just a flawless performance." However, not everyone was fully sold. Henry Cejudo, the Olympic gold medalist and former 2-division champ, had a different take. While he agreed with Usman that Volk looked sharp, Cejudo pointed out a critical hole in Volkanovski's defensive posture that he believes could be exposed by a dangerous striker. Cejudo said, "Yeah, I agree with you, Kamaru. Volk was clean, but there's one area I feel a good striker could really exploit. When he shoots for takedowns or even when he posts up, he tends to leave his hands down. And on top of that, he still has this habit where he cocks his head back to evade strikes. That's a huge problem, man." He continued, "You do that against a guy like Aaron Pico or Jean Silva, guys with nuclear power in their hands, you might get flatlined. Volk's great, but if he doesn't tighten that up, he's playing with fire." So while Volkanovski may have reclaimed his spot among the elite at 145, both praise and criticism prove just how high the stakes are at the top of the division. Now let's move on to another big news story. Khabib Nurmagomedov shuts down Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev before it can even gain traction. In a recent interview, the Eagle himself, Khabib Nurmagomedov, revealed Islam Makhachev's future plans and made it crystal clear that Ilia Topuria is not on the list, at least not yet. According to Khabib, Islam is entering a stage in his career where every fight must count, and facing someone like Topuria, who hasn't yet proven himself at lightweight, just doesn't make sense. Khabib explained that Islam is turning 34, and at this point in his legacy, he shouldn't be wasting time with fights that don't add serious value. He said, "I think Arman Tsarukyan is a more serious fighter than Topuria. Topuria is good at 145, no doubt, but we haven't seen him do anything at 155. Let's say he gets a title shot right away and Islam beats him. Then what? Islam basically beat a nobody in the division. That doesn't help him. That doesn't do anything for his legacy. That's not just criticism, it's strategy." Khabib made it clear that every opponent is now about legacy. Islam is the pound for pound #1 in many people's eyes, but to truly seal his name among the all-time greats, Khabib believes his cousin needs to take on the best of the best at lightweight, fighters who have climbed the ranks and paid their dues in that division. He continued, "Islam doesn't have much time left either. He'll be 34 soon. He doesn't want to fight someone like Topuria or even Volkanovski stepping in on short notice. That's how legends fall, by taking unnecessary risks. Islam wants to fight real contenders, guys who have been at 155 for years, not guys who just moved up looking for a fast title shot. If you're moving up, earn it." Khabib's words echo a powerful message, not just to Topuria, but to anyone eyeing a shortcut to the top. He's drawing a clear line, no free passes. You want a shot at the king? Prove you belong in his kingdom. So while fans might be hyped for the idea of a champ-champ showdown between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, Khabib just threw cold water on that fire for now. And in the world of MMA, when Khabib speaks, people listen. Next up, Paddy Pimblett's reaction to winning the $50,000 bonus has officially surfaced, and it's every bit as hilarious and heartwarming as you'd expect from the Scouser. In a behind-the-scenes clip that dropped shortly after UFC 314, cameras captured Paddy's raw, unscripted reaction to finding out he earned an extra $50,000 bonus for his dominant TKO victory over Michael Chandler. And let's just say, Paddy was buzzing. As soon as he got the news, Paddy exclaimed, "I got a performance bonus, 50K. I best had got a performance bonus, lad." He was clearly over the moon, and rightfully so. He continued hyping himself up, saying, "You're looking like Scarface there. Yeah, I love it, lad." But what really melted fans' hearts was what came next. Paddy then turned the excitement into a personal, emotional moment, sharing, "It's the baby's birthday on Thursday, lad. So that's another nice bit of money to spend on the baby's first birthday." That raw, honest joy showed a different side of Paddy, the fighter who also just wants to be a good dad, enjoying a milestone moment in his child's life. But of course, in classic Paddy fashion, the moment didn't stay soft for long. He went straight back into that wild, unapologetic fighter energy, laughing and saying, "I had to get a bonus though, didn't I? Couldn't not give me one there. Fing hell, I just elbowed Chandler's head into the floor." The behind-the-scenes footage quickly went viral, with fans loving Paddy's blend of raw emotion, comedic swagger, and genuine personality. Whether it was the celebration, the shout-out to his baby, or his wild commentary on the finish, it was pure Paddy through and through. And let's not forget the suit. During the bonus celebration, Paddy complimented someone off-camera, saying, "Sick suit, that you know." Just another reminder that even after a brutal war inside the cage, he's still checking out drip and spreading good vibes. The moment just added another layer to what was already a breakout performance at UFC 314. Not only did Paddy shock the world by finishing a warrior like Chandler, but his post-fight bonus reaction showed us why fans love him. He's real, he's raw, and he's 100% Paddy the Baddie. Moving on, Daniel Cormier calls Alexander Volkanovski the GOAT of the 145 division. During a recent episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy on ESPN, Daniel Cormier made it clear. In his eyes, Alexander Volkanovski has cemented his status as the greatest featherweight of all time. Even after that tough knockout loss to Ilia Topuria, DC says Volk's bounce-back win at UFC 314 over Diego Lopez reminded the world of his greatness and solidified his legacy. DC didn't hold back with the praise. He said, "I thought he was the featherweight GOAT before the fight. This only furthers that thought. And when you look at the resume, DC makes a strong case." Let's break it down. Volk defeated Jose Aldo, a man once seen as untouchable in the division. Then he beat Max Holloway, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And on top of that, he stepped up to fight Islam Makhachev, arguably the best lightweight on the planet, and gave him one of his toughest tests in their first meeting. DC continued, saying, "A guy that beat Jose Aldo, beat Max Holloway, challenged Islam the way he did in fight number 1, hands down, he's one of the greatest fighters of all time." And when people start bringing up losses, Cormier had a strong rebuttal. He said, "Saturday was just a reminder. If he's not in there with all-world killers, he's going to win, because that's all he's done." Then, turning to his co-host Joe, DC made a powerful point. He asked, "Joe, between 145 and 155, who would you choose to fight Islam? Islam, Topuria, and not be 0 and 3. Give me someone who would be 1 and 2 against Islam and Topuria in 3 fights." The implication was clear. Volkanovski's level of competition is insane, and even though he lost 2 of those fights, the fact that he took them and was competitive at the absolute highest level says more about his greatness than a perfect record ever could. So while the Topuria KO may have had fans questioning Volk's place in the GOAT debate, DC believes there's no debate at all. Volkanovski has done enough. He's climbed the mountain, faced the lions, and proved time and time again he's not just one of the greats of this generation, he's the greatest to ever do it at 145. Moving on, Khabib Nurmagomedov opens up about Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight. In a recent interview, Khabib Nurmagomedov addressed the ongoing speculation about whether Islam Makhachev might one day move up to the welterweight division. And according to Khabib, while Islam has the skills and the desire to fight at 170, one big reason is keeping him from making that jump: Belal Muhammad. That's right, Khabib confirmed that Islam has no plans to move up to welterweight as long as Belal Muhammad is champion. And the reason isn't competitive, it's about loyalty, values, and brotherhood. Khabib explained Islam wants to fight at 170, but he can't go up there because Belal is the champion and is very close to us. He made it clear that they're more than just teammates, they're brothers, they're family. Khabib went on to say, "We can't exchange our relationships for belts. That's not the way we are." He emphasized that the bond between Islam and Belal is something deeper than titles and more important than legacy. In a sport often driven by money, status, and competition, Team Khabib operates by a different code. "Those who offer us this," Khabib said, "they just don't understand the things we do. We have different views." He wasn't just talking about Islam or Belal, he was speaking for the entire team. These guys aren't chasing clout, they're living by principles that Khabib and his late father Abdulmanap instilled in all of them: brotherhood over business, loyalty over legacy. And to make it even more clear where his heart lies, Khabib added, "I really want Belal to win with all my heart. That's not just a teammate rooting for another fighter, that's a man who sees Belal's success as something shared, something the whole team can be proud of." So while some fans are still fantasizing about a future Islam versus Belal super fight, Khabib just shut that door. It's not happening, not unless something major changes. Because at the end of the day, for Khabib, Islam, and Belal, it's not just about gold around your waist, it's about the people standing beside you when the lights go out. And that's a rare thing in this game. And finally, Robert Whittaker doesn't think Jean Silva was even going 100%. That's right, former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker was absolutely blown away by Jean Silva's dominant submission win over Bryce Mitchell at UFC 314. But what really caught Rob's attention wasn't just the win, it was how effortless Silva made it look. In fact, Whittaker is convinced that Silva didn't even have to hit full throttle to get the job done. Speaking after the fight, Whittaker said, "Mate, Silva looked crazy as hell, like proper crazy." He went on to describe how Silva seemed to be on a completely different level in there, so much so that it felt like he was just toying with Bryce. "I don't know what it was," Whittaker continued, "but Silva just beat him up. He controlled the entire fight." What stood out to Whittaker wasn't just the skill, it was the body language, the showboating, the way Silva looked completely unbothered. According to Rob, it looked like he wasn't even going 100%. Does that make sense? He was toying with him, looking the other way, showboating, the body language. It was just different. And let's be clear, Bryce Mitchell is no joke. He's a solid grappler with a lot of heart, but on this night, he had nothing for Silva. Whittaker said, "Bryce didn't really have an answer. That choke came on so tight. Every time Bryce went for a takedown, he was in danger." He emphasized Silva's natural tools, his long arms, his wiry frame, his uncanny timing, saying, "Silva has the arms, the body type, the aura for a deadly guillotine. And obviously, he can do it." But maybe the most fascinating thing Whittaker touched on was how Silva's attitude inside the cage might be just as dangerous as his technique. He wrapped it up by saying, "I don't know whether Silva is just that good that he can go 50% and still win in that fashion, or whether the showboating, the confidence, the unhingedness throws his opponents off. Bryce just didn't look comfortable at any stage." So is Jean Silva the next big problem in the featherweight division? Is he just scratching the surface of his potential? One thing's for sure, if that performance wasn't 100%, the rest of the division better be very, very scared.